Hey guys, welcome back to episode 3 of the Tipsy Hour podcast. So excited. We are filming this on a Friday afternoon this time. So since it's basically 5 o'clock, starting off the day with some margaritas.
Fan fave.
Fan fave. You're so
Question.
good.
Do you guys like salt rimmed or sugar rimmed?
Definitely sugar.
Definitely sugar.
If I have to have a rim, I would.
Okay. So if you order it, would you say no rim?
I would say no rim. Yeah.
Wow.
Why?
Because you don't need it. Who needs a rim for tequila?
But it just makes it taste better.
Yeah.
No, tequila is amazing on its own, guys. It's like
See,
water.
I flip flop. Sometimes I'll like a sugar. Sometimes I'll like a salt. I mix and match.
You know what I do?
It also depends. What?
Sorry, go ahead.
I said I think it also depends on what type of flavors in it.
Yeah.
So if it's like lime, I can do salt. But if it's like a passion fruit margarita, I would never do salt.
No.
Ever.
You know
I
what
agree
I
with
think it is? I think it's also like what food I'm going to eat next.
That's true.
If I'm like, if this is a fun kind of like place where we're, kind of doing like little bites, little tapas, whatever it is. If we're ordering appetizers and we're all sharing, I'm going to want a sugar rim. I don't know. It's just more fun versus if it's like, oh, we're going to have like steak, or like I'm going to do something like a churrasco. Then I want like that saltiness to kind of, go with it.
Interesting. No, I think the salt kind of ruins it. So it's either sugar or no rim for me.
Interesting.
But
so what are we talking about today?
Yes, besides our drink, I wanted to start off, you guys, and ask you if you've had any toxic work environment stories. I know I have some crazy ones in my past, so I was wondering if you guys had any to share with us.
I think everybody does.
Yes. In short, absolutely. I think not naming names of companies, obviously, there was one company that I worked with where the boss had a very much so like CEO disorder, where no matter what was done or what was produced, it was, I have to have the last edit, and I can't stand those. Now, don't get me wrong. I can take criticism. I want healthy criticism. I want to make the project better for the client, for me, for myself, right? But when it's the most petty nothingness criticism, oh, that irks me. That irks me so badly. And the bosses that love to yell, like actually, have you guys encountered that? The bosses that actually love to yell during meetings? That's absurd to me. That makes me want to click right off and no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Well, so funny enough, I mean, I think of two stories, but I'll actually like completely with Alexa on this one, and bosses that love to yell. And I've had two of them where like, that was like the big thing that they did. And one of them, she trusted me. So I guess like that was a good thing, is that she really did trust me and trust what I used to say. But like, I remember sometimes she would get up to, we had like a bullpen area, and my office was right next to the bullpen area. And she would come up to my office, and you guys, like, she would just start screaming about some client that was paying like $200 a month. And it's like, in the digital marketing realm, if the client's paying under $1,000 a month, they don't even matter. I mean, not in big agencies. I don't mean in small agencies where you're going to a small person that is really looking to build a business. In a big agency, when you're dealing with 90 clients, somebody paying under $1,000 doesn't matter. And so she would come up and just scream at everyone, and everyone would just start kind of looking at her like, oh my God, we're all getting fired. And I remember I would just sit there and just, you know what I mean? Like, just take it, just look at her, and then just say, okay, well, this is why it doesn't matter, what you're saying is wrong, and like calm her down. And she would do all this. And then at the end of it, she would go, oh, okay, and walk away to her office to go email the client.
The worst.
Psycho.
So it wasn't even like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like she was honest to God upset about it, but it was just her knee-jerk reaction was so high that it resulted in this, which was crazy.
Right. Well, my bad work experiences actually stem all the way back to my first job. Have I ever told you guys the way that I stopped working there? Got fired, quit, whatever you want to call it. So basically, my very first job, I was 15. I was working at a bowling alley, out of all places, as a children's birthday party host. Okay. I only worked the weekends for like 2-3 hours for $7 an hour. So it's not like I was making any kind of money there. And basically, the way that you would get your schedule is that you would text the boss. Let's call her Karen for now. You would text Karen.
Love it.
Every single Wednesday and just ask her, hey, do I have a birthday party? And if she said yes, great. You would come in. She said no, then you wouldn't. There was like 10 birthday party hosts. So not everyone had a party every single weekend. And if you ever wanted to take a day off, you would just go into her office. She had this giant binder. You would write your name down and then you were set. You're good to go. Now, mind you, people used to not text in all the time when they couldn't get their days off, and nothing ever happened to them. So one weekend, I had a DECA trip, and Shearly, we do not miss our DECA trips when we were in high school.
DECA.
And I had taken the day off. I'd written my name down in the binder. So of course, Wednesday comes around and I don't text her because I had the weekend off. Why would I text her? And I go to my dance class, happy as can be. I come into dance class and one of my best friends who worked with me, I had 20 missed calls from my best friend, not Karen. And she's like, oh my God, Karen's calling, texting me, saying that you didn't text in for your schedule this weekend. What's happening? She says she's called you 1,000,000 times. And I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, Karen has not texted me or called me once. Also, I took off this weekend. But either way, I text her to remind her, hey, like, I'm not going to be here this weekend. I took off. Right. Doesn't respond. So I go about my weekend, come back Monday, go to school. And my best friend is like, oh my God, you cannot believe what happened this weekend. Karen went around and talked shit about you to every single person. She was like, Shaneck doesn't want to work. She doesn't care about this job. And I'm like, what the heck? Are you kidding me? So, I text her, and of course I text him for my schedule for the next weekend, and she doesn't respond. And this happens for like 3 weeks where I'm like texting her for a schedule. She doesn't respond. And then she goes and like talks about me over the weekend to whoever would listen. So, after like 3 weeks, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I was getting paid $50 every 2 weeks. Like, who cares, right?
Right.
So months and months pass by, and comes May. So all the seniors are graduating and going off to college. And again, she goes to my best friend and goes, well, you can tell Shaneck that if she wants her job back, she needs to come in here and apologize to me.
Okay, you had been reaching out to her the whole time. How
Exactly.
funny.
And she has not responded to me in months. And I'm like, I don't think so. You've got the wrong person here. No. And that was that. I never went back there again. I was like, have fun. You deal with it. Find new people.
What a psychopath.
Yeah, no.
What a psycho.
That's absurd.
First job. So great first impression.
And you know what gets me? I always tell people this. I'm like, if you ever seen a job description, anything along the lines of like, we treat each other like family. I'm like, run and hide. Run so quick you can't run any faster, because when they tell you treat them, we are like family here. That means you're going to get in my personal business. That means you want my personal time. That means that you want me to have this job as important as I do my family. And like, that's not going to happen. This is a job. Like, I give up my time and I get paid for it. And then I go home. It doesn't matter how much money you think you're paying me. Like, no, I'm not treating you like family. I just met you. Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, no, that's absurd. No way.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Well, it's another crazy environment. I feel like restaurants. Shearly and I have worked together in a lot of restaurants, and that is very much so that whole family, let's all, kumbaya together during the holidays and craziness. But then in the middle of the rush of it all, people in the back say the worst things to each other. It is the biggest, like, it feels like a tornado.
Yeah.
When the restaurant opens and everything starts going, it is just a whirlwind. It is a tornado. Things are going fast. The cooks are yelling. The manager's yelling. All of the servers are yelling. Everyone is in a frenzy.
Crazy.
And then when it shuts down, everyone settles back down and it's like nothing ever happened. And everyone's, like I said, family again.
Yeah.
And it's awful.
But like we would yell at each other. I mean, we would really be like so upset. Like, you know, where's my bacon? How do you mess up stupid effing pancakes? And then go out for a drink right afterwards and like never apologize, like never addressed again. And then the next day would start and you would just go right back to your same old routine. And like, and what's crazy about it is you would think that, you know, everybody's a psychopath. You really would. And the thing is, like, I was doing it. Like, I was getting yelled at for like not making coffee pots or whatever else was in this restaurant that they needed me to do that I wasn't doing because I had 10,000 tables to take care of. And then I would go out to the bar and it was like, oh, okay, great. Hi, Carla. How are you doing? You know, whatever. It didn't matter. And to this day, if I ever saw any one of those people on the street, I would be like, hey, friend. How are you? How's life? How can I help you? How can I be there for you? Truly, because you go through so much at one time that you learn so much and you are so aware of how these people are going to react to certain situations that you get really, really close really, really quickly. And that's why it's, I think, super hard to leave restaurant life. I really do. You know, everybody hates the hours.
I don't think so.
Lex is like, I was ready to get out of there.
You don't think so?
Are you kidding me? To leave restaurant life? I think the only reason why you would leave why it would be difficult to leave restaurant life is because of the cash. There's no other job where you literally walk in, or very few jobs. I shouldn't say no other. There are things like shipping, but there are very few jobs where you walk in and the relationships that you make directly relate to how much money you're bringing home in your wallet. And that is exactly what serving is. You talk to a table about what college you're going to, and they think that you're their, you know, next daughter, and then they give you $50. And woohoo, I just walked out with $50 cash. So if there's any reason why leaving the restaurant life would be hard, it's almost that, like, I don't know, like a shot of serotonin. You walk out with $200 cash in your pocket every night.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you go to like a real job and you can't get any cash, period. You don't even get a paycheck.
For 2 weeks. Right. And then it's just being automatically directly deposited. Like, you never see your money. It's just numbers that come in and out of an account. Which, don't get me wrong, it's better, but it's not that like hard cash, I guess.
And it's funny because like I think about that and I'm like, it is true. Like, I feel like money is almost fake right now. Like, it's almost fake money. It's almost like I'm dealing with monopoly money because I never touch it. Like,
yeah.
I okay, great. Thanks for, you know, I get an email every 2 weeks saying like, hey, we've paid you. Thanks.
Exactly. Wonderful. And then I get an email from all of my accounts that I've paid and said, hey, we took this amount from your bank account. I'm like, oh, cool. Wonderful. And then I wait for the next 2 weeks for the same set of emails to come around.
How much is left?
That's literally why I always say that cash to me is fake money. Like, if it doesn't affect the number in my bank account, I spend it in seconds.
Oh yeah. No, if it's already gone out of my bank account, it's gone. It's gone money.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think like where it's different is if your whole money is made in cash, like with the restaurant, like my paycheck was fake money. Like if I ever got, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I wouldn't even get paid because I had so much cash that I had made that my taxes would be like, my paycheck would be $0 or like $2. Like, I don't care about $2.
One time we had a paycheck that was not us. I don't believe it was one of us. It was a coworker who owed 14 cents to the house.
Yeah.
Like their paycheck was negative 14 cents.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Which is crazy.
The paycheck was nothingness. It was the cash that you were walking out with. Yeah.
Right. The paycheck meant absolutely nothing, but you're walking out in cash. And I remember just like saving these like $20 to $100 bills and like, or going to the bank and trying to deposit straight ones. Cause like, I didn't want to like keep the ones cause the ones just so much money. So like you would deposit the ones and the fives and, you know, the look on their faces when they saw you, like I knew my bank teller. After a while, like I started realizing, oh, I have the same like 3 bank tellers here in Coral Springs. And, you know, I could come by and say like, hey, so and so, how are you today? Like, oh yeah, how are the kids? How is this? How is that? Like, I was having conversations with my bank teller because I was going there so often. Because I would literally go spend the cash, and then my bank account was literally just savings because I never touched it. Like, where's my card? I don't know. I'm making cash. I'm spending cash with the girls, spending cash at school. I'm spending cash in wherever. And then whatever cash I didn't spend, literally that was a savings account.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's
Restaurant life is something else.
It's like a fishbowl. Like when you're in the fishbowl and you're a little fish, the only thing that matters is your fishbowl, and you don't see anything around. You don't see like the real world, like restaurant life. What?
Quotes from Shearly Reyes. It's like a fishbowl, and you're a
Fishbowl.
You're a fish. And the only thing that matters is the only thing that matters was like coming in, getting money, coming out.
Yep. Yeah. That's restaurants.
Yeah.
Any other type of environments?
Have you guys ever been in a toxic place that you've like actually learned from?
Learned in what way?
So here's what I think about, right? I had a really toxic environment where I worked for this person that I now consider like he was like a mini genius. He really was, because he grew this company from $0 to like 13 million in a year.
Wow.
But he was crazy, like genuinely crazy. And he would literally say that whenever I quit, he goes, if you're quitting because I'm an asshole, just tell me that. I know I'm an asshole.
Oh my God, yes.
Like, because he was like genuinely like just that person. Either way, I'll for those of you who are on YouTube video, this is a reason to be on YouTube, because I will act this stuff out. So we were the strategists developing websites for these big companies. And his whole point was he didn't want any basic websites in the portfolio. Like if your website looked like crap, he would tell you your website looks like crap and you needed to change it. Either way, this new strategist started, and her website looked,
crap.
Okay, here's the thing, right? Like it was a normal website by any other agency standard. It really was. It didn't look like crap. It looked like a normal website would, which was crap at this agency, because we wanted to develop, we wanted to develop amazing things. I guess she never showed him the site, because there was like times where you would have one-on-one meetings with him and he would say, okay, pull up that design, pull up this, pull up that. Like, let me see this website. For whatever reason, this website he never saw. And it launched. And he realized it looked like crap. Can I tell you, we spent 2 whole hours in 1 week with the entire company, which had now grown from the 8 people that we started with to 150 people. Yeah. Where he got up in his standing desk, right? Picture me in his standing desk. And he literally walked around the room. Okay.
Just like pacing, a crazy back and forth.
Pacing back and forth with no light in the dark. And he is going, this website is an effing disaster. This is the worst website I've ever seen. We should all quit, because this is such an embarrassment to the company that we should none of us should work here. I woke up in the middle of the night in sweating, because I was so anxious about this horrible website. And what was some of the other quotes, Alexa? Like,
it was just like this. I built an agency for great work, amazing work to represent me. And to think that my agency's name is on this piece of shit is utterly ridiculous. If one person, if there's a hole in the boat, we're all sinking. And you sunk our boat with this website, and you should know better. And the problem was that management, other managers, right, had signed off on the site. Obviously, the head of development had signed off on it, a few other managers. So he was also just mad at the whole team as to why so many people would allow this to go live in the condition that it was. And to Shirley's point, it wasn't that it was a bad site. It was by that agency standards, but it was just a very expected site. Like it had typical header, had typical 3 little blurbs, typical contact form. There was nothing special about this site, and that was his issue with it.
Listen, I understand wanting to be proud about your agency, but at the same time, like, you don't need to stand up there and yell. We're working in marketing. We don't save lives. Like,
right. You have no idea. He took it farther. he actually went to the extent, and he had this analogy, which Alexa just kind of touched on, but I'm going to explain a little bit more because it is the best analogy I've ever learned. He goes, we are all in a boat, and you and I and Shaneck are in a boat. And we are in this boat and we're rowing as fast as we can. But it doesn't matter how far I row, because Shaneck, if you put a hole in the boat, we're all sinking. And he literally went to the extent of saying, you put a hole in my boat and now we've sink.
And all of us rowing, you should have told me that someone was putting a hole in the boat. We could have stopped this. We could have like topped the hole. Like he went into this
analogy for a whole 30 minutes.
Deep. Oh, it didn't make sense. Don't get me wrong. Now I still think of like, oh, am I sinking a boat?
Am I putting a hole in the boat? Right. And it was crazy because she, first of all, I have to say, like, I give props to her, because if somebody had yelled at me in that extent and then had a second meeting to yell at me even more, because he got so upset about it again, he got like re-mad. Like he was mad, and then he was not mad, and then he got re-mad and had a whole other meeting about it, a mandatory meeting about it. And I have to tell you, we all had to be camera on the entire time. And had this been a situation for me, I would have literally just sent over Zoom, I quit, done.
Right.
Moving on.
I would have lost
there and just went like this the whole time.
She's a better person than us.
She's a better person than I will ever be. Are you kidding me?
Ever.
But
you can't do that to someone in front of the whole company too. Like, no.
Oh, and we were all staring at her because we were
and
wondering.
It's childish.
Like, I was wondering when she's going to break out into tears. Like,
right.
Or when she was going to leave. Like, literally, there was no other. I mean, we all knew who was responsible for this website. So we all were looking at her the entire time. And I think about that, and I think about how toxic that really was. But also, it really, I mean, honestly, like, first of all, I do think about that analogy all the time now. And I'm like, I don't want to sink a boat. And second of all, it really got to me, because the other thing that he did was, Shaneck, you'll actually probably laugh at this. He said it was so bad he doesn't want his company name on it. So he invested his own money to redo this entire site. The client already had approved it.
Loved it.
Strategist had to go back to the client and say, we're going to do the entire site. My CEO does not want this site in our portfolio.
Oh my goodness.
So sorry. Right. So like, how embarrassing is that for the
started over. They started over with the site completely. Like
they did.
Different color scheme. Like,
yeah,
thousands of hours and dollars go into those.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything, like he invested money into how to live it. So I also think about that, and I think about like, why am I doing things? You know what I mean? Like I think about that every single day. I'm like, am I doing something just to get a paycheck, or am I doing it to be the best in this industry?
Yeah.
Or, because if I'm not doing it to be the best in this industry, I might as well go away and do something else.
Right.
Because I don't want to sink the boat.
Yep.
That's true.
With that said, I also did quit shortly after.
Like, I'm probably gonna sink the boat next. I'm gonna go now. No, you got me thinking about my first job out of college, and it was toxic for another reason. No one was yelling. They were actually very nice people, I would say. But that place was wild. It was a wild time. First of all, paid nothing. Like, why I accepted this job in the first place is wild to me. But I learned so much there because I did everything. When I first started, I was hired. The person who hired me was big into digital marketing. She had spent her entire life doing this. And she basically was like, I want to mentor you. I know you're green, but like, I want to show you how to do this stuff, right? You clearly seem passionate about it. And so I was like, great, amazing, beautiful. Like, no one else was giving me a job at this point. And it was also during COVID, so harder to get a job. And so I started, and about a month in, she quits. And so I was like, well, there goes my mentor. Amazing. And so the person who stepped up into their position, again, she was always super sweet to me, but knew nothing about digital marketing, like at all. Spent her entire life only doing trade shows, and not even like setting up trade shows, just like organizing you to go to a trade show.
Oh God.
And making flyers. So obviously no one was there to help me. About a month after that, they fired our designer. So here I am, Shaneck, who has never designed a thing in her entire life, now completely doing all of our SEO, all of our paid ads, designing, copywriting, doing social,
Everything.
I mean, like crazy. So, 6-8 months in, they're like, we're going to hire somebody else who's going to help you. And thank goodness for this girl. Love Jenny to this day, one of my best friends, because she helped out so much. But when she came in, they basically were like, wow, now Shaneck doesn't have enough to do. So what is she going to do now? She's going to start working in publishing because we want to start publishing books.
Oh.
So
You're joking.
Naturally. The natural scale of things.
Naturally. So they're like, you're going to now start figuring out how to sell our books. You're going to set up like an Amazon shop. And, once you become an expert, you're going to start getting new authors for us.
What?
And I quit. I was like, okay, goodbye. Thank you so much. Have fun.
You're like, I want to be in digital marketing. I don't want to go to publishing. There are people who do this well.
Right.
Yes.
Why do you want me to learn it off a whim when I already learned this one job that you're not using me for? What?
That, and not only that, but like they basically started off with the owner of the company had written 6 books within a matter of like 2 months. Okay. So it wasn't even like they were trying to go slowly into this and like figure it out, but 6 books, matter of 2 months.
How long were the books? I mean, were they actual books? Because I can't imagine.
I mean, probably like 200-300 pages. So
they
were
6 books, 600. I can't even get through one.
Yeah. But I mean, and he was honestly a genius in what he does. So I'm sure that it wasn't, as hard for him to do that, but you don't just go from owning the kind of business that he owned to all of a sudden becoming an author and expecting it to sell. And so of course, when they're telling us we have to sell these books, the marketing team starts being like, okay, what can we do? Let's think like ads, social, like what are we doing here? Right. Let's build a strategy. And nothing that we did could sell these books. Like it got to the point where they were sending them out for free and people still weren't like reading it and buying it. And then they expected us to build a whole publishing agency.
No.
But like, that's the thing. Like you never hired somebody who knew how to sell books.
Right.
Yeah. No. The answer is no.
No.
You were never even mentored in the first place. You didn't even learn how to do your job well.
Learned everything from trial and error. It was like, okay, this didn't work. Let's try something else because nobody else was there to help.
Right.
And the funny thing about this place is that even though the marketing team was only 3-4 people, everybody in this office thought they were marketing. So everybody in this office was being like, oh, you need to do this, this, and this. Oh, no. Oh, you like, we have a design. No. I'm just going to post something myself. And then I'm going to sponsor the ad and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, no, you can't do that. Are you crazy?
Right.
And everything was like rushed. Like they came up with an idea on Monday and needed to be live on Wednesday.
No.
It was wild.
That doesn't make for successful anything.
No. I was like, I'm out of here. All I'm learning here is bad habits.
Yeah. No. Mm-mm. Work really is something.
Enough, a bunch of people quit right after me. So clearly I was
usually how it goes. Once one person goes, then that turnover starts because then you're short-staffed. Then you have, more expectations on your plate and people start dropping off like flies.
Yeah.
Crazy. So then how do you guys feel about this whole like work-life balance, work environment, like going the opposite end of that? There's those type of environments, right? Where everything is just kind of this boiler pot of really just tenseness. And then there's the opposite where it's like, let's all do yoga together in the office and let's be not family in the sense that restaurant life is trying to get into your life, but let's all be respectful of each other's time and, unlimited PTO and take off whenever you guys want. What are your thoughts on that?
Here's my thing. Like, here's the real on all of this, right? The same people who are touting work-life balance are the same people who are trying to make $12 billion in NFTs. Like, it doesn't exist. You can be balanced in your life, but if you're trying to get a promotion, your work is going to overtake your life at that point in your life. If you're trying to focus on your health, you're going to need to leave early to go to the gym. You just aren't. Like, you can't be work-life balanced every single day. And I think this is especially showcased in TikTok videos right now. The, a day in my life videos that of all these people that we love to see, there's two lawyer girls and I consistently forget their names, but I watch them all the time, right? The one that like just got her bar exam and the other girl, the one that goes on her little hot girl walks, right? And I think about them and I think about all these other people and they're working till like 8 p.m. Or I think about the other lawyer girl in New York who like gets Chanel bags off her bonuses and she's working till like midnight. She puts in like 60 billable hours every single month, every single week. And so I think about these people and I'm like, I see everybody's comments. I want your life. But then they also want to be that girl. And they also want to meditate in the morning. And it's just like, you guys need to pick one. Because if you're seeing her life, she is making 300 grand because she's working 60 hours a week. Plus, she's billing for 60.
Oh, I think it really depends on the company, though. I do think unlimited PTO is a scam. And I do think now with so much work from home, it's a lot harder to put a stop at the end of your day. But I think the company you work for really does make a difference. I mean, the company I work for now, they definitely do things to try to help you get that work-life balance. I mean, we do meditation Mondays every single Monday morning, yoga Thursdays every single Thursday, where in the middle of the day, you do a quick little yoga at your desk thing. They send us books about how to balance your life and they'll send you things to learn, even if it's not something to do with your job. So I think it really depends. I don't think, every single job is that way. And if it is, you're probably working at a toxic job and you don't know it yet.
Well, okay, and I hear you on that one, and I'll give you that, but I think you have to be at a stage in your life where you're working at a big enough company, corporate, that you can do that. If you're working at a smaller company, if you're trying to build your company, if you're working at a company that it's going to pay you per billable hour, that's a little bit of a different story. It just is. Lawyers don't work 40 hours a week. They don't. Doctors don't work 40 hours a week. They don't. You know what I mean? And when you are an entrepreneur, you don't work 40 hours a week. You don't. So if you want to be in corporate and you want to get a paid salary and you want yearly bonuses, and that's what you want to do with your life, that is fine and dandy. I think you should do it. However, don't sit in front of my face and tell me that you are going after VP level, CMO level promotions. Tell me that you want to start your own business and also complain that you're working past 6 p.m. BS.
Again, I think it just depends on the company you're working for. If the company you're working for expects you to work 80 hours a week to get a promotion, it's probably not the best company to be working for. You need to rethink your life. I also think maybe as Gen Z, we don't look at work that way. I have a very strict, yes, if I need to do something after hours, okay, fine, I'll do it. But 6 p.m. hits and adios, peace out. You're not hearing from me. We're not saving lives here.
Right. I think I think there are very different work cultures. Shearly, I think the point you bring up is interesting. I think there are different work cultures across different fields of work also. With lawyers and with doctors, it's very difficult to have just core hours. If I'm a surgeon,
they are saving lives.
They are saving lives. Yeah. They are pulling people out of jail. They're keeping people from jail. They are saving people in surgeries and from illnesses. They are saving lives. I think that there are companies, I think there is this massive shift right now, large corporations that are corporate, that are making that shift to having more work-life balance. I think now we're seeing more often that you can get to that managerial level. You can get to that VP level by still balancing out your life. But we'll have this conversation in the next 5 to 10 years, see where things are at, see if it actually worked out for all these corporations, right?
True.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, on a
Anything else
flip,
on work? Go ahead, Shani.
I was just gonna say, on a flip side, we have talked about toxic environments when you're at work, but have you guys ever had a toxic environment at home with a bad roommate? I know I have.
Thousands times, yes. Does living with a drug dealer count? Does
would
having
say that
knocks on
counts.
your door at 2, 3, 4 a.m. when you're studying for finals count? Because if so, then yes. Big fat yes. No. Shearly and I lived together in college, and we did live with a roommate that was
Ew,
scamming the psychology system to get medication and then selling her prescription medication, acting as an actual drug dealer through our apartment. And we would have skeevy, and I mean skeevy people, like calling up to our balcony in the middle of the night and knocking on our door and asking for, we'll call her, I don't know, Madison, and saying like, hey, is she home? And we're like, no, get out of here, please, and don't kill me. Yes.
I will also mention at this point that she is currently a psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
That feels wrong.
Doesn't it?
It is. It's just not okay, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah. No, great for her. I mean, hey, look, she's probably making bank. Our other roommate, so we had that one in like room A, and then room B, she was also, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, you guys,
by the way,
your whole
both
house crazy.
both room A and room B, both of them sold, moved in their boyfriends.
Mhm.
And
Love
so we
that
ended
for you.
up with 6 roommates. Room A, our beautiful, gorgeous roommate who was selling legal drugs. She lost her virginity in front of my dad. Yeah.
That was a very interesting night.
It was wonderful. It was like we were moved in for a total of like a week. And we didn't even know her enough. It was like, what was your name again? I don't even remember. Either way, so point
Madison,
is,
for these purposes.
And long story short, all of a sudden my dad is in like the living room with me and Alexa, and we're talking about, our first week in college. And can I tell you, this girl just started screaming,
Moaning.
Yes, she was having a wonderful time, obviously.
Obviously.
It all stopped. So we're just sitting there like,
So yeah, me, your father, and Shearly are there looking at each other like,
hey, Dad.
What's happening?
Let's all just smile awkwardly at each
Wow.
other as we listen to moans and screams coming from that door right there.
Yeah.
Real cool.
So it all stops. The guy literally quickly leaves the house. I don't even remember his face to this day because it was some random that she met at a bar.
Yeah.
And brought home. And she comes out, she goes, guys, I just lost my virginity. And I'm like, that's my Madison, please meet my dad, who you knew was coming today.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait to hear Dad's side of the story of this.
I would never. I've never brought it up again. It's just not a thing. It didn't exist. It is repressed. It is memories that are completely gone. So that was room A. Room B, on the other hand, I don't know if she was worse, to be honest with you. In some ways, she was a lot worse. She could not wake up past 12 o'clock to save her life, or before 12 o'clock to save her life. She would literally tell us, oh, I'm sorry, I can't wake up past 12 o'clock. And I literally would say, is that because you have a health condition? Because I'm confused, because you should be able to. Either way, the point is, her sex life happened between 3 and 5 a.m. And it would get really, really loud at those times, which is why she wouldn't be able to wake up early in the morning, because she was up at those times. And so were we. So were all of we. Mm-hmm. Then if she literally would never clean. And one time it went to the extent of Alexa's mom was actually sitting in a couch watching it go down, where I was called to the laundry room by her mother where she made me aware that after washing her daughter's clothes, the laundry room was dirty and here's how I could clean it. And I was like, well, you see, no, because those aren't my clothes. Those are your daughter's. And she said to me, and I swear to God, and Alexa's mom heard it, and I swear, like, word for word, she goes, well, she could never. So
daughter could never clean this. But that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah. So that's what I'm telling you to
What am I, a
do.
maid?
Because it needs to be cleaned. And
Oh, no.
it took my ancestors, my Dominican ancestors, had to get up from their graves to hold me back. Okay. They were like, everyone had to get up at the same time to hold back the punch that I should have given her as a reward for her stupidness. That's not what.
Oh, no. See, I had 2 roommates that stick out to me, but one specifically, can't even remember her name because I have blocked it from my memories. But basically, where did we start? So when we moved in, it was about a week after my birthday, and my 2 other roommates I was friends with, so of course we were celebrating, and one of them had brought me a bottle of wine. But at this time we were in a sorority. It was during recruitment, so none of us had had time to drink this wine, so it was just sitting in the fridge. This girl moves in during recruitment, builds mountains of trash, and then puts all the trash bags outside of our door, right? And at the time, my apartment had a fee. So if you had more than 2 trash bags outside, they would charge you $25 per bag. So I tell her, hey, just so you know, you're gonna have to move those and take it down to the trash bin, wherever that was, or else they're gonna charge us. And she was like, yeah, I know. Told you this like 5 times. She never did it. Comes the day where they come to pick up trash. I text her again and I say, hey, very nicely, just so you know, like, I've asked you to move these a couple times. If they end up charging us, like, you're gonna have to pay for that charge. And she comes storming back into the apartment, like, grabs everything out of all the cupboards that is hers and like drags it across the floor to her bedroom, like throws a whole hissy fit, like if she's gonna move out. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna leave, right? Then she starts cooking, and her thing was, if me and any of my other roommates were out in the living room or the kitchen, she would do absolutely anything to be out there, but she wouldn't speak to us. So me and my friend Danny were eating my birthday cake, and she's like over here cooking so mad. And she turns around and looks at us and goes, just so you know, I saw a bottle of wine in the fridge, and I know none of us here are over 21. So if the cops come, I'm ratting you out. Like, who is calling the
College
cops?
students. What are you talking about? You're not middle
Welcome
schoolers.
to college, like where everyone's drinking.
Not only that, but like, first of all, 1 bottle of wine, I'm pretty sure the cops would be like, okay, fine, like pour it down the drain, whatever. Even if that. 2,
Right.
who's calling the cops? Are you calling the cops? Because how would they know there was a bottle of wine in the fridge? Why would they come over here? Please tell us.
Yeah, weirdo. What are you trying to do here?
What?
Like, what's happening? And this kept going on. A couple months later, she was like just so weird. A couple months later, this girl almost gets kidnapped outside of our apartment complex, which is super serious. Thankfully, nothing actually happened. But, as a precaution, again, me and my 2 friends, roommates who lived with me, we go and we just buy little pepper sprays to keep on our keychain, just in case. And we're joking around like, oh my God, I'm going to spray you, like not actually being serious about this. And this girl walks, like she had been washing her spoon for 45 minutes because, again, she wanted to be around us, but wouldn't talk to us. She stops washing her spoon, goes into her room, walks back out with a taser in her hand, buzzes the taser, does not say anything, and then walks back into her room. I was like,
what's wrong with you?
Oh my God.
That was when we all flipped the switch and we're like, okay, she needs to go. Like,
what a weirdo.
That's
Such
terrifying.
a
No, no,
weirdo.
no. You would creep in your house and get out of here. Nope.
You've got to go.
No.
Well, so we had a roommate once. Oh, God. It's so sad because I can't tell you guys her name, but her name rhymes with the deceased. Okay. So we're going to call her Mrs.
Thanks of all the
Disease.
diseases.
Mrs. Disease moved in her girlfriend. And apparently, like, this was just a thing that happened in an apartment. People would just move in somebody else with them. And like, I just had to live with extra people that like were not paying rent. So that was fun. That was really, really a great time. I really enjoyed that a lot. Either way,
Yeah.
The problem with her, guys, is that she would literally at 5 a.m. every single morning, she had an activity to do. Some
Okay.
days that activity was yoga. Other days that activity was playing her violin. Other days that activity, she had a little like bouncy ball thing, like a bounce ball that you like sat
Like
on.
those medicine balls.
Yeah, like a big medicine ball.
Yeah. And so some days her activity was sitting on her medicine ball.
It was like a fitness class that she did, but it was one of those big ones, like huge, like the size of you. And she would like have to bounce it around. So you would wake up to the sound of rubber balls bouncing. It was ridiculous. She also had a huge bicycle, and she wouldn't trust locking it up in the bicycle section, downstairs. We lived on the 3rd floor. She would haul
This
this
stupid bicycle up
every day and park it in front of Shearly's door.
But every day it was at a different angle. So it was never like in the same exact position. And so what would happen with the stupid medicine ball is that the stupid bike is every day I would come out and do one or two things. Number one, open my door and the stupid bike would fall, at which point she would come out and yell at me because God forbid I hurt her bike that was parked right in front of my stupid door. And you stupid whatever knew that that's how my door would open. Or number two, she would park it at just the right angle to where I would come out and literally trip over it, at which point she would come out and yell at me.
Shearly started her day falling over this bike for like a good month because it was always parked at some different type of angle. So Shearly wouldn't know where it was. So she would come out and like go straight left or go straight right or go straight forward. And then she'd just trip over a bike tire. It was the funniest thing.
And you would just hear of the bike.
Yeah. And then I hear them both screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And this is how I would wake up.
She would be like, I moved my bike from yesterday and put it in a better spot, and you still managed to like drop. And I'm like, why do you park your bike in front of my door? You idiot. Like,
you carry it 3 flights of stairs. Leave it downstairs. We had a balcony. Put it on the balcony. But why are you leaving it in front of people's doors, their bedroom doors? But I will say she did have excellent scheduling for herself, because whatever activity she was doing in the morning, then right after that, she would put a pot of tea on and then go to take a shower.
She was the definition
so the
of that
kettle would just go.
Yeah.
That high-pitched freaking little squeal would go for like 20 minutes while she's in the shower.
It would.
It was awful.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and it would literally like, it was so high pitched, it was crazy. And the thing is about it, like, you have to remember at this point, I have woken up now 3 times and I've now tripped over her bike once. And so I'm going right back to bed because I was trying not to take more early morning classes. And like at this point, you have to understand the timing here, because the timing here I think is important. She'd wake up at 5 to do an activity in the living room that would wake us up. That activity lasted around 45 minutes.
Okay.
At which point I was so exhausted that but I was awake because that activity would wake us all up. So I was awake and maybe I would go grab a glass of water, at which point I've now tripped over the bike. She's yelled at me. I've yelled at her. I'm aggravated. I'm trying to go back to bed because it's only 6 a.m. And my earliest class would be at like 1. So why am I awake? There's no reason for me to be awake. So I would go back to go to bed, at which point she would then get up from doing her activity and yelling at me and go pot her pot of tea. So as you know, like a pot of tea doesn't just start in like 2 seconds to get hot, right? Like this is like 15 minutes in. So this is, I've gone to bed. Like I'm finally falling back asleep. My roommates have fallen back asleep from the yelling and the screaming and the violin playing. And then her stupid pot of tea would go.
Final straw.
And she was in the shower. Can I tell you guys, sometimes she wouldn't even remember to take her freaking tea.
Mm-hmm.
We would come out at 8 a.m. to see her cup of tea made in the sink because she didn't even remember to drink it.
Oh, I would kill her.
So I have now been awake 17 times by 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
For tea that wasn't even drunk.
For tea that wasn't even drunk.
Yeah.
I almost killed her. Almost killed her. So I don't know. I mean, I think roommates are awful.
I would agree. I had another one, not to name drop, but her name rhymed with Mickle. So y'all can figure that one out. And she moves in right after the crazy moved out. And we should have known from day one because
Is this a rat?
no, that crazy is the rat.
Oh,
But
okay.
you know, 2 peas in a pod right there. She had moved in after getting in a fight with her 3 best friends that she lived with. So that's when we really should have known. And she came in and, you know, she told us the story how her friends really hated her boyfriend and, you know, they were so dirty. So she had to move out. And I remember when she came in, her mom was with her and her mom was like, oh my God, this apartment is already so much cleaner than your last one. You're going to do so great here. And I'm thinking, oh, how awful her friends must have been.
Yeah.
Stupid me. This girl, similar thing, didn't completely move in her boyfriend, but he might as well have lived there because every single time that they got in a fight, I would wake up the next morning and he was sleeping on my couch. Like, why couldn't he have just gone home, you know?
Right.
He didn't have a home.
Exactly.
He was home.
He was
Exactly.
home, probably. They would full on have sex with the door open. I remember the first time this happened. My friend Danny comes knocking on my door. She's like banging on my door. And I'm here laying in bed. And she's like, do you hear that? And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And she was like, go closer to the room. And we hear the TV running with a commercial. And then all of a sudden, moans. And I'm like, oh my God. And we see her door like fully open. And then after, of course, it was always like, oh, that was the best you've ever done. So we heard all of it. It was awful. But that's not what made her bad. What made her bad is how absolutely disgusting this girl was. She flat out went to Europe, guys. Like took a vacation to London or wherever the hell she was and left our sink full of dishes with food in them. And of course, at first, she didn't really, you know, we weren't that good of friends, you know, said hi, bye, we were cordial. So I didn't know she was going to Europe. So at first I'm thinking, this girl just isn't doing her dishes, right? Like how gross. And she would always use like mine or my roommates like pots and pans too. So that, of course, when we needed them, it was like,
you had to wash it.
I have to do your dishes. So at first I'm thinking, you know, she's just being gross, not doing her dishes. Then I go on Instagram one day and she is living up her life in Europe. And I'm like, you're joking.
Be livid.
Wow.
So gross. She would also like, the trash can was like right there in the kitchen outside. You could see it. And she would deliberately leave her empty Starbucks cups like on the counter right on top of the trash can. Like, why can't you just open the lid and put it away?
Right.
Yeah, the place was dirty because of your daughter. Like
exactly.
Right.
I mean, and you know what gets me? Like my mother always blamed me. Like even when it wasn't my fault. Like I remember one time she walked into my apartment and she saw all of the alcohol bottles. And yes, that was my fault. But I tried blaming it on other people. I did. You know what I mean? I was like, oh no, mom, that wasn't me. No, that was my roommate over there. And she literally was like, yeah, right. That's my daughter. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
mommy always blamed me. Like, oh, if there's
Yeah.
something going on, it was because Shearly did something. And I think about like every other mother out there, and I'm like, is it just my mother that blames me for everything? Because every other mother's walking in with their daughter who's a pig, and they're going,
Somebody else.
somebody else can help this. It's somebody else's
Yeah.
issue. It's somebody
She could
else's
have possibly
problem.
cleaned this. She could
Yeah.
have possibly made this mess. It was anyone else, really. No. Mm-mm.
But
Right?
the cherry on top with this girl is that not only was she disgusting, she was so inconsiderate. So her bedroom
they
was
always?
the one, always. Her bedroom was the one all the way at the back of the apartment. Mine and one of my roommates, our bedrooms were like right next to the kitchen and the living room, right? So anytime people were in the living room, we could hear it. And obviously it's college, you're gonna have people over. Like, we're not telling you you can't have people over. But we would ask her, hey, do you mind not bringing people over at midnight on a Tuesday?
Right.
Like, we all have classes at 8 a.m. or work tomorrow, you know? And she would flat out tell us, I pay rent here, so I can do whatever I want.
Like, why be rude? Why?
Fine. But you know, your prerogative, fine. She finally gets a job. And again, her room was all the way in the back, so she shared a wall with our neighbors. And on a Friday or Saturday night, I forgot what it was, our neighbors decide to throw a party. So she can hear this, right? And now she's feeling the pain that we all felt about her
That's
having her
cute.
little parties, but on a Tuesday.
How
So she
great.
decides that she is going to go and sleep in the living room. And I'm in my bedroom, all the way on the opposite side of hers, watching TV. And my roommate is outside, you know, doing whatever she is doing, cooking dinner probably. And this girl looks at her and goes, oh my God, Shanika's being so rude. Her TV is so loud. And I can't sleep and I have to go to work tomorrow at 9 a.m.
You're like, it's a weekend. Sorry.
Yeah, first of all, it's a
Yeah.
weekend. Second of all, I'm in my room.
Right.
And she doesn't even come to ask me, like, hey, you mind lowering the volume?
right.
At which point I would have said no. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, I would've-
actually, I do mind. Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I would have 100% said no, especially after all the times that she did this. But like, wild to me that all of a sudden, like, she got so close to the point, but still didn't get it.
Do you hate when people do that? Like they're
Hate it.
there. They're there. And you're like,
Well, you're there. You just can't connect the dots. Like you're
Right.
you're experiencing the exact same thing I've been telling you about, but you're not seeing how that could relate to what you've been doing. How can
Right.
you be this dense? I don't understand.
it's the
So,
hypocrite comments and like actions to me. It's like, oh, wow. On
It's
that note,
obliviousness.
what?
I said it's obliviousness, especially if their parents are oblivious to the fact that their kids are the ones doing it. Then
Mhm.
are you really
Maybe
know,
that's what it is.
confused
Maybe
that
it's like,
they're oblivious?
yeah, maybe they're just used to being hypocrites and oblivious
Yeah.
because their parents
Family
just
of
let
them.
them do whatever they wanted to do.
Right.
That's
That's
Only we're
probably
so
it.
lucky.
On that note, we're going to
Yeah.
drink the rest of our margaritas. We'll be back next week. Subscribe, follow us, download, and cheers.
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 Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.